It's Warren Buffett. What the hell makes him a sage? What the hell makes him so noble? I'm sick of this old fruitcake, to be perfectly honest with you. Warren Buffett says, screw Warren Buffett. Why do I care what Warren Buffett says? Or Warren Buffet, as I like to call him. Isn't that how you spell buffet, too, Mr. Producer? Yes, exactly. The T's are silent. It's like this guy, Poof. Or the something is silent. The T's, the F's, the whatever. They import these guys from France. I'm just kidding, not really. But anyway, so Warren Buffet, he puts out this op-ed in the New York Slimes, and it's so compelling they publish it on Sunday. And what does he say? Hey, look, it's time for us billionaires and millionaires to pay up. Time for us. Our leaders have asked for shared sacrifice. Now's the time. So I'm thinking to myself, who the hell's stopping him? Somebody stopping this guy? So here's what I figured. Let's take that goofball question from the Fox News panel during the debate. Raise your hand if you have to go to the bathroom. Raise your hand if you would accept or not accept $10 in cuts for $1 in taxes. Raise your hand if you oppose it. All of you? All of you oppose it? Here's my idea. Somebody introduce a bill in Congress. Let's check out its constitutionality. It's probably unconstitutional, but still, if Warren Buffett wants his taxes raised, we could say everybody who's worth $40 billion and higher, you have to pay $10 billion in new taxes because Warren Buffett says you're just itching to do it. And since for some reason you won't do it voluntarily, we will pass a law. We'll just have a super, super top bracket. Now, this would be constitutional. And we'll call it the billionaires bracket. And anybody who has $40 billion or more, that would be basically him and Gates, anybody who has $40 billion or more must pay taxes of $10 billion a year. Would that relieve you, Mr. Buffet? Would you feel better then? We can compel you to pay your fair share. You don't have to write stupid op-eds and say, please, please, tell me to pay more. No, we'll compel you to pay more. Who writes idiot op-eds like this? Just write a check. And then we say, okay, Warren Buffett has paid $10 billion. That's $10 billion in increased taxes, right? Now we want 10 times in spending cuts. That would be $100 billion in spending cuts by my calculation. Didn't even need a calculator for that one. So Warren Buffett has served his purpose. $10 billion in the Warren Buffett tax and $100 billion in spending cuts. And we can get the other lib, Bill Gates. He'll pay $10 billion too. Then we'll get another $100 billion in spending cuts. That's $200 billion in spending cuts when the two billionaires in our country, both of whom are libs, both of whom keep insisting that somebody who earns $200,000 a year be treated as a millionaire and billionaire, writing op-eds to themselves. Mr. Gates, you can pay $10 billion too, because I know you're itching to do it. That's $20 billion just with Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. $200 billion in spending cuts. What do you say, Barack? Isn't that a swell idea? Over at the Washington Examiner, they explain a little bit about Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, he really never does anything out of altruism. He does everything out of self-interest, but he cloaks it in altruism. In a piece titled, Stop Coddling Warren Buffett, it says, as most of the media goes gaga over billionaire Obama fundraiser Warren Buffett calling for tax hikes like he did in 2001 and 2004 and plenty of times in between, let's remember a few things. Buffett profits from taxes he supports. Warren Buffett regularly lobbies for higher estate taxes. He also has repeatedly bought up family businesses forced to sell because, well, their heirs' death tax bill exceeded the business's liquid assets. In other words, he's a bottom feeder. He owns life insurance companies that rely on the death tax in order to sell their estate planning businesses. Oh, he profits from it, too. Also, Buffett profits from government spending. Buffett made $1 billion off the Wall Street bailout by investing in Goldman Sachs on the assumption that his friend Barack Obama would bail it out. He also is planning investments in ethanol giant ADM and government contracting Leviathan General Dynamics. If your business's revenue comes from the U.S. Treasury, of course you want more wealth. Oh, my gracious goodness. Did the New York Slimes over there reveal all this when they published Warren Buffett's op-ed? No. Why screw up a good thing? Have you noticed, ladies and gentlemen, how so many of Obama's billionaire and millionaire friends profit from big government cronyism? Jeffrey Immelt over at General Electric. We see you over there. Can you imagine if some other company didn't pay a thin dime in federal income taxes? How is it that GE never winds up in any of Obama's speeches or is never attacked as among the billionaires and millionaires out there? Why is that? These are rhetorical questions, by the way, for you drones out there. You don't need to call and actually try and answer them. The nature of the question with a question mark at the end is the answer. That's what we mean by a rhetorical question. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. I have already figured out how to cut $200 billion from the federal budget right away. Warren Buffett says he needs to pay more. We ought to get a hold of a couple of our friends in Congress. They can pass this bill. The Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, tax us more bill. Any citizen who's worth over $40 billion, that would be the two of them, two libs, need to pay $10 billion in income taxes just this year. And then take up Obama and Fox News on the 10-for-1 demand, and then demand that they cut $200 billion from the federal budget. And guess what, folks? It won't have cost us a dime. There's the Mark Levin plan, right there. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.